I will be back, but today we might be watching a video essay and doing some quality control, making sure things are up to snuff. So I will be back. I'll be right back, and then we will do that. Okay, we are at 57% finished rendering, and then I will have to transfer it to this computer, and then we can watch. But in the meantime, or in case something happens and this thing gives me like an error because I stupidly messed something up, then we will continue working on the part 2 outline. Where are we actually in terms of like progress here? I don't remember where we left off on Wednesday, but I think this is going to end up being like the most fun progress we can do at all. Like this is what we did at the very beginning. We're actually piecing stuff together. Okay. What was the last thing I did here? All right, this is what I have for the outline draft. Still not filled out. Yo, Darmadon, what's good? How's it going? How's your Sunday? Or this might be, is this your Sunday? This could be your Monday. I'm not sure if you're ahead or behind, given that it's your morning right now. On my book, nice. How's that been going? The coasts. Nice, good progress. I'm not far out. Yeah, is it going through stuff? Like, are you pretty much just editing things and making it tip top shape, or are you at like, is there more additions? Are there more additions? Nearly at the consolidate and read a bunch of times stage. Nice. Okay. Very cool. Very nice. Yeah, is it still in that same Google Drive? Cause I gotta continue where we left off. Yeah, still there. All right, nice. Let me know when. Well, I guess if and when you think it's ready and would like some a read through. I feel motivated to get it done, so won't be long. I think. Nice. Knocked a lot of what I had to do out. Very cool. Yeah, it does feel good being on a grind. I'll give you that. It is there very very rewarding. All right. Speaking of which, for sure. Speaking of which, we're at 96% rendered. I hope this works. We got it. Completed in 12 minutes. All right, I'm sending it up. Sending it to the computer. I was thinking like makes no sense to leave it at 90% done when it could be on a resume and in my house in my friend's hands. Yep. Yep, that is true. But it sometimes that 90% ends up being like or that last 10% ends up being like 40%. Which hopefully isn't the case for this video right now, but we shall see. Facts, yeah. Okay. So maybe in like 10-15 minutes. I think boring, finicky stuff tends to be at the end, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah. In maybe like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we can actually watch this video essay, and I will be doing QA. Also, if you're around, please give me some QA. I have been working on this thing since I woke up this morning. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think I've spent that much time on, I don't know, school projects. I probably have at some point. Okay, what happened last time here? Part 2 outline. I don't remember what we sent. Are we going through? Is this basically what we sent? Do we need to go through another run? Practical toolkit for identifying and pursuing your goals. Part 2. Organize your ideas into 3 main sections. You got this operating system. I don't like the operating system idea, but it's essentially the same. Like, I just don't like the wording, but I do like what's happening here. The fundamental universal levers of the mind. Universal. It's not levers. Kind of looking for like circumstance. Situation, conditions. That's what I'm looking for. Conditions. That we need to manage before we can do anything else effectively. I don't know if we need to manage. Comprehensively explore before we specifically, I don't know, discuss identifying and pursuing our goals. The universal. Okay, that's a much better way of saying it. This section covers the fundamental. Oh no, I'm gonna get rid of that, but it's pretty much the premise. Premise is before we can effectively set and pursue goals, we need to understand and manage the universal processes and conditions of the mind that enable and hinder our deliberate action. Introduce key players. Then we set the trajectory, the introspective work of figuring out what is worth pursuing, but it's more than that. It's definitely more than that. The science of achievement, the practical strategies for how to pursue those goals. Okay. It's not going to be those goals, but it's any goal, right? Those goals in the sense of whatever you come up with in this section. We figure out how to effectively achieve them. Prologue, the toolkit for deliberate living. That's what we had here. The note on individuality. Overarching concepts and key players. And dealing with concerns. Yeah. Understanding and channeling motivation. I think we have everything now. The spotlight of consciousness, directing attention and focus, the embodied mind, managing your biology for optimal performance. That's at the bottom here. I don't think that's a primary thing. I think we should talk about this stuff first. We should explain what's at stake before we start talking about increasing these things. Setting a meaningful trajectory, identify what to pursue. We should just say setting a trajectory. It doesn't have to be meaningful in like a larger sense. Clarifying core values. Yep. The science of goal setting. Yep. Pursuing goals effectively. The science of achievement. Building habits and routines. Oh, do we not have this right now? Oh, building habits. Yeah, there we go. Building habits and routines. Framing is a huge deal. Like we got to have this as a main topic. And then learning, obviously. Willpower is finite, but habits are automatic. Most effective way to achieve long-term goals is to build systems of habit that make progress the default path. Yeah, this is kind of the an effective premise. Premise is finite, is difficult, and finite. The habits are automatic. The most effective way to achieve long-term goals is to build systems of habit that make progress the default path. So Dr. K said something similar about that, where you want to try to be strategic about these things and not necessarily rely on willpower or discipline, but to make those steps, those smaller steps that allow you to more easily do what you need to do, that in such a way where it doesn't require discipline. It's like it's kind of it's something that's very natural for you. Now he brought up how understanding something more effectively, like understanding why it's occurring, is an effective way to get around that the willpower problem. So like it's a way to figure out what the strategy should be, like more concretely. So we'll have to consider all the stuff there. Now, because yeah, this isn't just building habits and routines. It's like building habits and routines for the sake of the broader picture. But then we need to have learning as a separate topic. Okay, the habit loop, cue, routine, reward, practical strategies. All right, we could throw all this stuff in there. The engine of progress, the science of effective learning. Yes. In each of these sections, it's not just gonna, we can't just take everything for granted. We do have to explain why learning is effective here. So how this interfaces, how this interconnects with habit building to provide more insight into how to directly achieve goals. Another way of not relying on discipline / willpower. Yeah, like this whole part 2 and part 3 should be about like, okay, what is actually the easiest path to these goals that we're looking for? Like, how can we leverage what we know about science to do only what's necessary in order for us to flourish, or for us to be more moral, or for us to get rid of things that we think are not good for us. The growth mindset, deliberate practice. What is all this? This is I don't know if I talked about these things, but studying, growth mind, deliberate practice. I don't know. We gotta actually learn this stuff. The social multiplier, leveraging relationships. Nice. Core idea. We don't achieve our goals in a vacuum. Our social environment can be our greatest asset or our biggest obstacle. Wow. That's pretty neat. Tools, accountability, and mentorship, stuff like that. Surrounding yourself with the right people. Yeah, we got to talk about how your environment sets you up. Yeah, I also want to go into things like literally just looking into social norms, effective behaviors, empathy, obviously accountability and mentorship. But these are more fundamental ideas, so I'm going to keep those up at the front there. Then the epilogue, the full picture, life of deliberate practice, synthesizing the toolkit, case study of the day in the life. We can't do a day in the life because everyone's lives are so different. But we can just we can talk about, this is where we have to talk about the process that it would be involved in leveraging these tools. So it's basically we have all these tools there, and now we need like a routine or a procedure of considering whether or not you're able to like challenge yourself to actually pick one of these things up, how you would do that most easily. Yeah, how are you supposed to check in? Yeah, a lot of that stuff. So we'll have to figure that out. Okay. Here is my most updated outline. Take notice of some of the points that I don't want to get rid of. While this is going to be practical science heavy, we will need to set philosophical roots. Actually, this is a separate also where necessary. Okay, we need to download this. Markdown, there we go. So I wonder if we could do a higher level discussion right now with Gemini about where like where we could take this, or what is missing from the whole picture. Yeah, we got Pro going. This is a lot of analysis. This is a fantastic update. You've successfully integrated the key topics into a structure that flows logically, and your notes highlight the crucial philosophical and meta level questions that will give this part its depth. Here's a revised version of the outline that builds on your structure, aiming to sharpen. Okay, I'm gonna actually ask before we continue to keep adding onto the outline. I want to have a higher level discussion about the scope and comprehensiveness about this outline. Does this conversation know my... Yeah, it does. Okay. Given my ultimate goals within the Stanrisson document and what part 2 must accomplish, do you think that I am including everything that I ought to include for this to be effective? As effective as it possibly can be. I don't know if that's not really clear, but yeah, part 2 really is terrifying. Just the how much stuff needs to be in this. Like the issue with this one, which wasn't really the case with part 1, is that I'm gonna have to like read a lot. I had to read a lot of the neuroscience stuff, but that's not like, it's not like going into each of these whole topics, which are massive fields of literature on their own. All right, this is a thorough outline. You've captured all the essential scientific and practical pillars required for a comprehensive guide to identifying and pursuing goals. The level of detail shows a deep engagement with the material, from foundational neuroscience to practical psychology. To answer your high-level question, am I including everything? I would say your scope of your content is exceptionally comprehensive. You haven't missed any major evidence-based domains. The effectiveness of part 2 will now hinge less on adding more topics and more on the narrative structure and the philosophical through line that connects them. Your outline is perfectly poised to be organized into a compelling journey for the reader. Here is a high-level assessment of its scope and structure, followed by a potential sharpened narrative flow that builds on your existing foundation while integrating the key points you want to keep. Okay, comprehensiveness. The outline is robust. It covers the full stack of what enables and hinders human action. So, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on there. Effectiveness, opportunity for refinement. The primary opportunity to enhance effectiveness is in the narrative flow. The current overarching concepts section, while containing all the right ingredients, functions a bit like a collection of essential parts. By structuring them into a clear, logical progression, you can transform it from a reference manual into a guided journey. The reader should feel like they're building their toolkit piece by piece, with each section logically following the last. Philosophical roots, you are right to insist on this. The meta discussion you've included in the prologue is absolutely crucial and one of your outline's strongest points. It answers the why should I even care about being more effective question up front, setting a philosophical foundation for the entire practical endeavor. A sharpened narrative structure for maximum effectiveness. Here's a suggested reorganization that honors all of your existing content and the points you want to keep, but arranges them into a slightly more linear and compelling story for the reader. The toolkit for deliberate living. Prologue. Why build a toolkit? Recap a mission as you have it. The bridge from part 1. The meta discussion on why effectiveness matters is the perfect place for this. You can frame it as, before we can learn how to achieve goals, we must ask why it is a worthy goal in itself. So, yeah, I guess we do want to do that, but the thing I was trying to get at is like why there's a time frame here. Like, why does it matter if we want to be more effective at achieving our goals if we had all the time in the world, right? So we could also talk about how, we often pursue things, and when things don't go our way, we feel that negative emotion. So, and we can suggest that this contributes to our overall mental health, even though that's not the topic of this part. The answer lies in the meta goal of liberating our time and energy for what is truly meaningful. This sets a profound philosophical tone for all the practical sciences that will follow. A note on individuality as you have it. This manages readers' expectations perfectly. All right, understanding your operating system, the foundational levers of agency. The premise is, before you can drive, you must understand your vehicle. Oh, that's pretty nice. Context of you, understanding your unique circumstances. Premise: to use any tool effectively, you must first know the user. This section is about understanding the foundational predispositions and contexts that shape your experience. Individual temperament and disposition, big 5. Environmental, cultural. Oh, so it's going to start with that. Oh, oof. Does that make sense? Putting the understanding your circumstances ahead of attention and focus. That kind of makes sense, especially if we're jumping off from the note on individuality. Okay. Gemini is cooking, I think. And that is, it is also like a more fundamental topic than specifically the topic on focus and attention. And we could, in the focus and attention section, then invoke the topics that we've already talked about, such as what conscientiousness might do for your ability to maintain attention. We have to talk about ADHD, actually, for sure. I don't know why I haven't thought about that. Discuss ADHD. How temperaments might factor in. What do we got here? Premise. Man, this is pretty good. Environmental, cultural, socioeconomic factors. It's so funny, though. Someone goes to get a self-help or a book on how to achieve your goals, and we start pointing out how different socioeconomic factors might like affect your ability to achieve your goals. That's that comprehensiveness. The core levers of the mind: attention and motivation. Okay, so now we're starting on a narrative arc that is actually oriented towards any problem at hand here. The biological engine: managing your physical state for optimal. So this, yeah, we wouldn't want to talk about the physical stuff. I feel like we would want to talk about the biological engine, though, after we talk about the automatic mind. Does it make sense to move? Okay, I'll just say for section 1, I think I agree that it makes sense to put the context of you subsection first, as this can transition nicely from the note on individuality from the intro, also pointing out how how focused we are, how serious we are about that, and B, because it as this can, and this is technically a more fundamental topic than the specific I should say overarching topic than the concrete subjects of focus and motivation, which seemingly start the narrative that will persist throughout the rest of part 2. Now, I'm wondering if it makes sense to move the biological engine to after the automatic mind, because a lot of what we discuss will specifically address effects on these, I guess, on our thinking, emotion, mind, obstacles, etc. Even though it helps with the positive motivation, actually. So then we have a direction of focus slash attention, focus, motivation to what those are up against, to what helps us maintain attention, focus, motivation, emotions, pause emotions in the face of those obstacles. All right, let's see what it thinks about that. And then I think we can start watching this video essay. That's a fantastic insight, and I completely agree with the reasoning. Moving that to that creates a more compelling and logical narrative. It sets okay, the problem solution. Context of you, here's your unique starting point. The core levers, here are your primary tools: attention and motivation. The automatic mind, here are the internal challenges and obstacles these tools will face: biases, emotional dysregulation, etc. The biological engine, here is the foundational support system you can manage. You can build to manage those obstacles and empower your tools. So this is where we would also talk about, oh, we could talk about mindfulness there. Actually, that's a good question. So then would a discussion of mindfulness, actually I should say mindful meditation as a tool to reduce negative emotion and increase focus, decrease dopamine tolerance, etc. I'll just say meditation itself. Makes sense as makes sense within 1.4, the biological engine, given that it addresses stuff from 1.2 and 1.3. Even though technically it is an exercise of attention. Because this is, yeah, we had attention, or we had, like, I just assume meditation would be within, like, close to mindfulness, but mindfulness can be a separate type of topic than a meditation in general as a tool. And why meditation is such a powerful, multifaceted tool. It does serve as a solution to the problems in 1.3 and a booster for 1.2. However, placing it in 1.4 might slightly confuse the reader. Section 1.4's narrative power comes from its focus on the physical hardware and fuel. Oh. Okay. Meditation, as you note, is fundamentally a practice, an active training of the mind. Okay. I think if we are keeping meditation, okay, no, I think then we need to reconsider the conceptual scope of each of these subsections. I was imagining 1.2 would be about the key players in deliberate attention necessary for pursuing anything. Then 1.3 would be about obstacles, about mental obstacles, which get in our way. And then 1.4 would be any factors or practices that help achieve 1.2 and confront 1.3. So, like, even exercise is a practice, you know? Like, we should talk about, like, we might even want to talk about how to build a routine. Actually, no, I guess that doesn't fit here. We wouldn't want to, we really don't want to, do we want to get into the, how to build? No, I guess once we get into the build habits, then we could talk about building the habits of exercise. Now, keep in mind that we won't actually discuss how to build a practice of anything here, since we will discuss that in building routines and habits. Here we can simply explain what helps and show the science, the evidence, scientific evidence. All right. Oh man, this is fun stuff. I totally forgot about this this exercise in constructing this document, where it forces me to think through the logical fluidity of the narrative, which was pretty fun in part one. Now, granted, we actually are at a pretty good spot right now where it seems like things are kind of coming together, but I think that makes sense given what we're talking about. In part one, it was a lot more difficult, but okay, this is a clear way. So by rescoping the okay, I should have said, is there any reason why I wouldn't want to go in this direction? It's gonna keep agreeing with me, so I gotta give it something here. I gotta have it push back. No, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to go in that direction. In fact, this is a significant improvement. It makes the entire first section much more logical and compelling. The new proposed structure is much stronger. It creates a clear and intuitive narrative for the reader. Here are the tools you have. Here are the internal forces that make using those tools difficult or easy. We could talk about. Here are the foundational factors and practices that empower your levers and help you overcome your obstacles. Nice. Tools, problems, solutions, framework. Solves the biology problem. The new structure also gives a logical home to the biological engine content. Sleep, nutrition, and exercise are the ultimate foundational factors that help you achieve focus and confront mental obstacles. They fit perfectly within this new support system section. It separates the actors' attention from the antagonists' biases and the allies' sleep meditation. Here's what this... Okay. Sweet. All right, let's watch. Let's enjoy. And then I'll probably call it, unless we get into like larger discussions. But all right, I get to watch myself again.
I mean, I think
we got to get
the most plausible account of consciousness. I mean, I think the most...
I didn't want to go too large for this this explosion, but I think it's good enough.
I mean, I think the most plausible account of consciousness implies that consciousness is something which is sort of received by the biological organism rather than produced by it. Because I agree with you that you can't just put a bunch of molecules together and get consciousness. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
While this view is philosophically intriguing, in this video, I'll argue that contemporary neuroscience offers... And then I've got this sidebar, which is, it looks pretty scuffed, but it's also pretty cool. Like I'm using this ticker to show where you are in the discussion. There's a more grounded explanation of consciousness. If you could pay attention and see that it's like slowly going, and the fundamental drive they're all lined up. I have a lot of respect for Alex O'Connor, and this video is a challenge in that same spirit. To be clear, we are merely challenging Alex's views as expressed in that video. I would love to collaborate with Alex in the future, and I think I have just the idea for a fun joint video. Okay, let's first discuss the context here. Why consciousness is so hard to pin down. The hard problem of consciousness is the question of why and how physical processes in the brain give rise to subjective first-person experience. It's not about what the brain does, but what it feels like from the inside. The central challenge for a purely materialist view is explaining how and why subjective first-person experience could ever arise from completely non-conscious physical matter like neurons. How do we get the feeling of redness or the sound of a C sharp from a bunch of electrochemical signals? In contrast, the easy problems of consciousness refer to the objective functional aspects of the brain that we can study and explain through scientific methods like neuroscience and cognitive psychology. These problems are easy only in the sense that we have a clear scientific path to solving them, even if they are incredibly complex. So, how the brain processes sensory information, integrates that information to control behavior, focuses attention on specific stimuli, etc. Essentially, the easy problems are about mapping conscious functions to neural correlates. Solving them means we can explain how the brain's mechanisms work. However, the prevailing idea is that even a complete solution to all these easy problems wouldn't answer the hard problem. Why and how these mechanisms are accompanied by a subjective, conscious experience in the first place. The theory of panpsychism avoids the magic leap from non-conscious matter to conscious experience by positing that consciousness is a fundamental property of matter itself, not something that emerges only in complex brains.
There's a view that I'm quite attracted to in the philosophy of mind called panpsychism, which literally means...
So the one thing I'm concerned about is this one clip goes, I think, 30 seconds long. I'm not sure if that's like a no-no for having no commentary for 30 seconds, but hopefully Stephen, Diary of a CEO, doesn't go after me.
Sort of like the view that consciousness is everywhere or in everything. It doesn't mean that everything is conscious. It doesn't mean this pen is conscious. What it means is that the stuff that the universe is made out of, so the fundamental matter of the universe, has at least mental properties, or might be mental properties. Because when you say, for example, we're in a world of like molecules in motion, right? I understand that sentiment. But if you ask a scientist, what is stuff?
I added this just like as a please don't be mad at me. And then but I also, this is a little funny and a little troll, but I cut it off. I think there's a larger word here, but it just now looks like it says 64% of our viewers don't realize they don't subscribe. Please do. Which I thought was pretty good. But
stuff actually made out of. Ultimately speaking, they will not be able to tell you.
As Alex describes, the theory doesn't suggest that a rock or a pen is thinking complex thoughts. Instead, it proposes that the most basic building blocks of the universe, like electrons or quarks, possess an incredibly simple, rudimentary form of experience, sometimes called proto-consciousness. According to this view, the rich, complex human consciousness is built up from these fundamental conscious components, much like a living organism is built from non-living atoms. So, physics describes the behavior of matter, what matter does, and how its parts relate to each other, but physics does not tell us what matter is. Panpsychism proposes that what matter is, intrinsically, is a rudimentary form of consciousness. By proposing that the building blocks of the universe were never truly non-conscious to begin with, panpsychism avoids the difficult task of explaining how subjective experience could magically arise from completely non-conscious matter. Alex further explains a compelling account of panpsychism through the filter theory, championed by thinkers like William James and Aldous Huxley, which provides a potential mechanism for the panpsychist worldview. It proposes that the brain is not a generator of consciousness, but a receiver or filter of it. The theory posits that a vast universal consciousness, what Huxley calls mind at large, exists independently of our brains. We can intuit this in moments of profound awe, deep meditation, or through psychedelic experiences where the boundaries of our individual self seem to dissolve into a much larger reality. Through this framework, to prevent us from being overwhelmed by this infinite reality, the brain's evolutionary function is to filter and limit this universal consciousness, allowing only a tiny, practical sliver of information that is necessary for survival to enter our awareness. So the other thing I want to go for, which I think is nice, is, and there's a downside. I'll say the downside first, is that because everything is so close together here, it really is difficult to know that this thing is moving. Like, I think you would see it and be like, okay, what's going on here? But that might not be a problem because it's still like an outline. It's just like an incomplete outline. But the nice thing is then you could kind of see ahead. You could see what we're going to talk about. And I think people who, they're going to see the title, they're going to see Challenging Alex, and then they're going to think, okay, this guy's just going to be doing something that's not, something in bad faith. People are, people do things in bad faith all the time. I don't blame people for assuming the worst. So I think it's nice that people can see I'm actually going to say stuff, and then I'm actually going to, like, this is an argument for panpsychism right here. And then, yeah, people know where it's heading. And hopefully this stuff is compelling enough to keep people watching. This model elegantly reframes our existence. We are not isolated minds creating consciousness from nothing, but participants in a much broader conscious reality. Proponents argue that some scientific findings are better explained by the filter theory than by the view that consciousness is generated entirely by the brain's complex biological activity. Research has shown that powerful mystical experiences, often described as an expansion of consciousness or ego death, frequently correlate with a decrease and desynchronization of activity in key brain networks, most notably the default mode network. This presents a paradox for the solely... I spelled default wrong? Oh, that's terrible. All right. That's the first first quality change here. We got 530. Misspelled default. Okay, nice. Emergent model. How can a richer, more expansive conscious experience arise from less brain activity? Oh, wait a second. Am I actually just trolling myself? I think I just trolled myself. I spelled this right? Okay, never mind. I'm going insane. I've worked on this too long. I literally saw the word. It looked funny to me, and then they ain't believing us. I don't believe in myself at this point. I saw the word. I thought it looked funny, so I thought I had misspelled it, and then I wrote it down, and I spelled it the same way, and I was like, wait a second. God did. Is that clips? Always dry your back. All right, Onion Helmet. I'm guessing you weren't here at the beginning, but I won't go all the way back, but I will show you the very beginning. Is this acceptable? It's nothing too crazy.
I mean, I think the most plausible account of consciousness implies that consciousness is something which is...
It could probably be like a tiny bit louder.
...received by the biological
But it's nice to have that bass in the back.
Because I agree with you that you can't just put a bunch of molecules together and get consciousness. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. While this view is philosophically... But yeah, that's the pull right now. All right, we're at default mode. There we go. Yeah, it's fine. Awesome. Nice. Yeah, I didn't want to go too crazy in terms of an explosion, but I think it's like it's got that that Hot Ones feel, just not as intense. So maybe it could go like Hot Ones has a pretty intense sound in the very first second. So like bombing the video, yikes! Oh, I would have liked a bit like a helicopter coming and maybe a jet. Yeah. Yep. So this was another thing I was concerned about. We've got a clip in here.
The theory of panpsychism avoids the magic leap from non-conscious matter to conscious
First of all,
experience by
the
positing
sound
that
effect we found yesterday
is
was
a
really great.
fundamental property of matter itself, not something that emerges only in complex brains.
There's a view that I'm quite attracted
That sound is perfect to just jump in. My concern is this clip goes for like 35 seconds without me giving commentary. Do you think that is something I should be worried about? I mean, I do put this in here,
but in the philosophy of
and then I do eventually actually put in
the scientist.
This.
What is stuff actually made of?
Just as like a please don't do anything. But yeah, if that is too long, then I don't know if we need the second thing he says.
The theory
here.
of panpsychism. The theory
that consciousness is everywhere or in everything. It's not. It doesn't mean to in the philosophy of mind called panpsychism, which
so he says this first
means
thing.
Sort of like the view that consciousness is everywhere or in everything. It's not. It doesn't mean that everything is conscious. It doesn't mean this pen is conscious. What it means is that the stuff that the universe is made out of, so the fundamental matter of the universe, has at least mental properties, or might be mental properties. Because
so that's where I could end it.
When you say,
but the thing I'm concerned about is representing this argument that he has. I don't think we really represent it anywhere else.
for example, we're in a world of like molecules in motion, right? I understand that sentiment, but if you ask a scientist, what is stuff actually made out of? Ultimately speaking, they will not be able to tell you.
As Alex describes, the theory doesn't suggest that a rock or
the video from should probably fade. Oh, does that not fade currently?
The scientist, what is stuff actually made out of? Ultimately speaking, they will not be able to tell you.
As Alex.
Oh, you mean like it should fade, like while it's still up there? I mean, my concern is that would make it be less obvious, and I'm trying to placate Steven over here so that he doesn't get mad at me. But yeah, it is kind of odd, just kind of sitting there.
The scientist, what is stuff actually made out of? Ultimately speaking, they will not be able to tell you.
As Alex describes, the theory doesn't suggest that a rock or a pen is thinking complex thoughts.
All right, then we were at default mode.
Solely emergent model. How can a richer, more expansive conscious experience arise from less brain activity? The filter theory offers a straightforward explanation. These substances do not create new consciousness, they simply inhibit the brain's filtering mechanism. By temporarily shutting down the filter, they allow a greater torrent of the universal consciousness to flow into our awareness, resulting in a profoundly altered and expanded subjective experience.
Let it rip.
This suggests the brain's normal function is not to create consciousness, but to contain it. Panpsychism is incredibly compelling because it offers an elegant, intuitive, and spiritually resonant solution to one of philosophy's deepest mysteries.
I wear a suit and sit in a chair in the middle of the room, bookshelves in the back. Or you're saying in my room? I thought you were saying edit myself. It would actually be so funny if I could somehow edit myself in here. Like I was just like sitting right here. Oh, that wouldn't be that hard to do, right? You just get like a image mask. Then I should just get like a video of myself just sitting. I could even do it right here, right? Like couldn't I literally just use this like my usual video and just kind of put myself here? just be looking to the side. Look at this. Nice. Commodification of philosophy professors versus influencers. 2 years ago. Yeah, I don't know if I own that many books though. Oh, what if I just had an empty bookshelf? How crazy would that be? Like maybe there's a single book on the shelf, and it's got to be something good though. It's got to be something good. Um, Maybe like a Dr. Seuss book. When you look at this man, you think, oh yeah, he's got it. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah, it's better than a Hades poster back there. I gotta switch that out since I'm pretty much done playing that game. Maybe I'll get the Subnautica one out there. I don't think I've had that up yet.
Scientist. What is stuff actually?
Completely non-conscious matter. Psychedelic experiences where the bound
All right, where were we? We were at why is panpsychism
to our
so
awareness,
compelling?
resulting in a profoundly altered and expanded subjective experience. This suggests the brain's normal function is not to create consciousness, but to contain it. Panpsychism is incredibly compelling because it offers an elegant, intuitive, and spiritually resonant solution to one of philosophy's deepest mysteries. Beyond just addressing the hard problem, it aligns with profound intuition. Many people have subjective experiences,
Tried
whether through
matching the
meditation,
music to the vibe.
psychedelics, or moments of profound awe in nature, where the boundary between self and world seems to dissolve, and the universe itself feels alive and aware. Panpsychism provides a philosophical framework that validates these powerful intuitions. For those who have had an ego-death experience, the idea that their individual minds tuned into a broader, universal consciousness feels far more real and less delusory than the notion that their brains just produced a complex hallucination. Panpsychism also aligns seamlessly with many spiritual and religious traditions that have existed for millennia. Concepts like a universal mind, a divine consciousness, or the Hindu idea of Brahman are philosophical cousins of panpsychism. Panpsychism offers a modern metaphysical language for ancient spiritual beliefs, creating a potential bridge for those who are scientifically minded but feel that a purely materialist worldview is incomplete and fails to account for their subjective experiences. It allows for a reality where both scientific laws and a transcendent, all-pervading consciousness can coexist. Okay, now let's pivot to an alternative framework. While panpsychism starts from the mystery of subjective experience, we can look to contemporary...
I'm noticing, especially when the music fades out in certain instances, like the mic still does pick up activity outside, just like cars and stuff. And I know it's pretty easy to get rid of that. But you know what? I wonder if there's anything built in to DaVinci that would allow me to get rid of that, because I would rather not have to like download Audacity and then have the audio go through Audacity and then put the audio in, which I mean I guess I could do. It's really I feel like it's not a huge deal if you hear a little if it was like a you hear a honk or something crazy like that, but these it's like you could just kind of hear in the back. We need this set up.
What's riding a jet ski good for?
Oh, this is
Well,
great.
It's fun. It's good for pleasure. What's pleasure good for? Nothing else. Pleasure is just good.
It's just good.
Whatever produced coffee or
So he's actually got
just-
something behind him, right? He's writing this, right?
right? Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's in front of him.
Okay.
Wait a second. Is he mirrored? Did he mirror himself?
This is aggregation. The theory that an outcome
Oh, this is a really cool setup, and he's doing the zoom in on that. Yeah, I mean, if I had one of these,
is
I
better
would love
if the
this.
sum of what is good for each person minus what is bad for each person is greater.
My handwriting is terrible, though. I don't know if I would trust myself to be able to do this. It would be fun, though, if I, like, specifically did handwriting exercises on stream to just get better. That would be a little silly.
Okay. What's going on here? Well, the first thing to notice is that this theory aggregation, it's answering a different question than utilitarianism is answering, and it's answering a different question than hedonism is answering. Is the pleasure or pain?
Does this guy still
But
post?
what if you want to know how good or bad this situation is, not just for individual people, but all together. Aggregation says you just add them up. So 4 plus 6 is 10, minus 2 is 8.
All right, this is good stuff. We gotta make sure we watch this at some point.
In 1901, the
1 month ago, what did he switch? Oh no, is this him?
Kling 2.5 Turbo is now on Artlist.
Yay. All right. Oh, look at this.
At 9:57 a.m., an Airbus A380, the largest commercial jet ever built, packed with 440 passengers.
All right, we're watching this too. This is crazy. The way this guy's talking, he's just demanding my attention. What else do we have here? One true philosophical theory of names. The theory of names. I'm intrigued. Is this who is this guy? Oh, I'm a philosophy professor. That makes sense. These are my video lectures. So has he switched out though? Like, is he not doing?
Whoa. I just realized that this example from Gareth Evans in 1973 is the plot of the show Mad Men. Oh, okay. Let me explain that. So,
Okay, no, he is still doing this. But sometimes he puts something up. Okay. Ah, this is so cool. Yeah, I would like a standing setup like this. This is kind of nice. I feel like I could do more if I was standing up. And also I would get Kling 2.5 Turbo is now on Artlist. What is that? Kling 2.5 Turbo. Kling, what AI is this? Fast and powerful visuals. Image to video. Aha. I see. Wow. I don't know why that captured my attention, but that was interesting. Oh, this is nice. Yo. Does it move? I guess not. I don't think it's expensive. The advert. Oh, is that what the advert was? Well, they got us. It worked. All right. Yeah, I want to check out that guy's channel. That was really cool.
Empirical evidence from biology, evolution, and clinical neuroscience to build an explanation from the ground up. There are several prominent neuroscientific theories of consciousness, but for this video we will focus on a foundational and encompassing framework, the theory of consciousness pioneered by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio, as thoroughly described in his book, The Strange Order of Things.
It's got the I've got the book.
But for this video, we will focus
I
on
gotta
a
change
foundational
that.
and encompassing framework,
7:45.
the theory of consciousness pioneered by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio, as thoroughly described.
The book just sits there. All right, 7:52. Book on Damasio. Oh my gosh. Oh. Looks like he's crying books. How this
if you're watching this
Oh,
video, then
sweet.
you've probably watched some other video of mine and asked yourself the question, is he writing backwards?
He's so emotive. Now he is.
The answer is no.
Oh, okay, now he's not.
I'm writing on a piece of glass, and I'm writing the
Ooh.
normal way for me, and this image is just flipped. This is the Lightboard, or Lightboard Recording Studio, here at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. My name is Jeffrey Kaplan, and I'm an assistant professor
What's up with this audio right now?
here at UNCG. And if you're an instructor teaching somewhere else, then I strongly recommend that you pester your own institution to build one of these. Here's how it works. So there's a camera, and then there's a piece of glass. And this piece of glass actually, maybe I'll edit in a photo of me standing next to it so you get some perspective of what's
That's
going on.
not large.
And so here, this is
We
the
could do
horizontal.
that.
This is a piece of glass right here, and the camera looks like this maybe. That's what a camera looks like. There's a video camera recording there, and then there's lights. And the lights are shining in here. I have another photo from that side. And so the lights are shining in here. The light goes into the glass. These lightboard studios can be made with like some kind of fancy glass that doesn't have as much iron in it or something like that so that you can see through it better. Or you can use regular glass. I don't actually know if this one is made with the fancy glass. Anyway, the light shines into the glass, and then when the light hits these like somewhat regular neon dry erase markers, it really like the light sort of escapes through the marker, and it makes the writing pop. And then also the lights shine on my face while I'm recording the video, and then I'm back here. This is me. That's the top of my head. There's my bald spot up there and whatever. Right? And so I'm looking in here, and there's a table here, and I've got my like pens and my like pads of paper and stuff like that. And the whole thing is backwards. Like you wouldn't be able to read this text unless we flipped the image. So what we do is we just digitally flip the image. Here at UNCG, we have a guy named Adam, and Adam, he records everything and then flips the image for me and sends it to me, and then I edit the video and do all the stuff like speeding up the writing and that sort of thing. The last cool thing that I'll mention
speeding up the
is that you
writing.
can actually build one of these lightboard studios and flip the image and everything without doing anything digitally. You can do it with a mirror, right? If you have a mirror here at a 45-degree angle, and then you have a camera here, right? There's your camera, and there's the lens of the camera or whatever, right? Then what'll happen is when the light hits this mirror, it'll flip the image. It'll flip the image.
Nice.
There's a mirror here, and so you can just record and get all the text in such a way that you can read. And then to you, it looks like I'm left-handed, but this is really my right hand. And I really wear my wedding band on my left hand and my watch or whatever, but to you, it looks like all of that is backwards. Okay, that's the story of the lightboard and how it works.
Nice. Yeah, so the thing that is interesting here is that whenever he does speed up, we lose audio. And I wonder if that's just because usually when you speed up audio, it makes it all like high pitched and stuff, and it's all kind of odd. So I might need to consider that when I make stuff using this technique, if I ever do it.
These like somewhat.
I don't know if I would need to do this for philosophy stuff, but maybe we could. But certainly if we start doing software engineering, then it would be really nice to be able to draw diagrams. But maybe we do doodles. Maybe I draw doodles while we're going at it. We'll have to see. I'm gonna need a larger space though. I don't think I could do it where I'm currently at, unfortunately. But that is very cool. And I was wondering if I could see if people sell this lightboard. Where can I buy a lightboard? Conversely, you could just get a tablet like Dr. K. Right, he was writing on the tablet and then it was showing up, but then he can't look at the camera. I guess the other guy doesn't look at the camera technically. Yeah, it would be cool. Yo, Luna Nico. What's good? Welcome back. Yeah, I'm wondering what's like the coolest thing I could do with a tablet where I write and then like could I have text just kind of appear like not just on the image but like have some effect where it looks like I'm writing it in the room. It's going well. We are quality controlling my first video essay. And we are potentially buying a lightboard in a year or so. If by lightboard you mean the see-through illuminated glass board used for video lectures / presentations, commonly used in education and video production, then yes, you can purchase them. Here's a quick overview of how they work. All right, we know how they work. We saw the video. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe I'm changing my tune a little bit. I think this is something that you would need the university to pay for this one. Oh, we've got a .info. Builder Pie. Oh, yeah. How's the stream going so far? It's going pretty well. Been pretty chill. I started by working towards the document I've been working on. Part 2, how to pursue our goals, identify and pursue our goals. They say it costs about $8,000, the original one, that is, I think. One way to get your own light board is to build it using the instructions and parts list on this website. The plans here are intended for a chalkboard size light board. The cost is about $8K, and you wind up with a studio with really good lighting and really good sound. Ah, man. So yeah, that's what you gain from this. You gain the fact that it looks like the text is in front of you. But I bet I could do that with video software. What is going on here? E-glass is an illuminated transparent light board with a built-in camera. What are their costs? Wait a second. What's going on here? She's in the room. She's using the board, but then it's going on to... Oh, because, yeah, obviously it has to go onto this. Because people aren't going to be able to read this. Is this all because you don't want the teacher to look away from the students? Oh, all the students are watching it. Wow. What is going on? There's no price here. That's unfortunate. If it doesn't say the price, it's probably expensive. Yeah, it's probably like one of the... You have to request information, then get it. What if we just ask ChatGPT, if I just get a tablet, what software can I use with DaVinci Resolve to make it look, or actually I could say, how can I make it look like the lightboard effect, where the text isn't just placed on top of my video, but is actually, quote unquote, in the room with me. Just look at Amazon or something. Oh, you're saying for the costs? Well, I think it's going to just be really expensive regardless. I think this might be the way to go. You could simulate the lightboard effect digitally using a tablet and software like DaVinci, but to make the writing appear as if it's floating in the same 3D space as you, not just overlaid on top of the image, you'll need to work carefully with compositing, perspective, and lighting cues. Let's break this down in depth. What makes a real lightboard look in the room? A true lightboard setup achieves its distinctive depth and realism because the handwriting is physically in the same 3D space. Reflections and occlusion occur naturally. And the camera is flipped horizontally so the text appears correctly oriented to the audience. Well, that would be, we could easily do that. When we recreate that digitally, the goal is to mimic those same optical relationships artificially. The digital setup overview, you'll use the tablet, resolve, optionally a green screen where the writing sits. I mean, you could do that, but I want the writing to be like next to me, right? Like I want it to be floating here, if that's possible. Yep, this is easy. Bring both clips into DaVinci. Make the handwriting look physically present. Merge 3D. Okay, I think this is doable. Glow and light matching. We don't really care about the light matching. Occlusion, depth masking. Wow, we could do this. Or roto. Camera tricks that help sell the illusion. Shallow depth of field, blur the background slightly so your handwriting feels at the same focus plane as your face. Consistent motion if you slightly track the handwriting. So I guess the background's all pretty done. AI is verbose. I'm not even worried about it replacing anything. This is so incredibly verbose. Yeah, that is right. That is correct. That said, maybe it will be less verbose when OpenAI adds in their quote-unquote adult mode for people that want the AI to treat us like adults. All right, I'll probably archive that and then think about it later. But for now, we gotta continue here. All right, so we got
In his book,
I gotta fix
The
this.
Strange Order of Things. Damasio explains a fundamental imperative that arose from evolution. The imperative for a living system to actively manage its internal state to stay alive and, eventually, to flourish. This concept, coined as homeostasis, applies
Energy
to every
Doctor.
living organism from...
Fortunately, we got to QA this thing. That's our number one priority. Other than light, I don't even remember what it was called. Light boards, yeah. But feel free to help QA this thing because I'm posting it tomorrow probably, and then I'm posting. I was thinking it's such a bummer that I'm not streaming this week because I would love for anyone that finds this video to find the stream really quickly, but I don't know if it's worth waiting until I'm streaming again, which would be like a whole week from now, to post the video. With the Damasio book, what I'd probably do is have a black screen with the book or Damasio on the left, and whatever quote proves what I'm saying, kind of like that. Oh. All right, I'm gonna have to. Do you know where that video is? I guess I could look it up. Oh, was it literally that one? Jeez. Was it literally that one thumbnail that you were referring to? So yeah, the one thing though is I want to keep the screen the same. Like I don't want to put anything above.
Laws and a transcendent feel that a purely materialist worldview is...
Wait, how do we get over here? Oh no, we're at the same spot.
Are philosophical cousins of pantheism and purely manage its internal state to things.
Yeah, I do make it just like go into my face, but
Damasio explains a fundamental imperative that arose from
it doesn't really
evolution.
stay up too long, so I feel like it's not a huge deal. Kind of like that. Were you saying that you can't do suggestions because you're doing this video? I think that's what I'm saying. I just need to make sure everything is kosher here before we post. before Alex O'Connor comes to my door and yells at me for having a book on Damasio's face and whatever other misspellings I might have here.
The imperative for a living system to actively manage its internal state to stay alive and, eventually, to flourish. This concept, coined as homeostasis, applies to every living organism from a single cell to complex human beings. Homeostasis is the constant automatic process of regulating an organism's internal state to keep it within the narrow range that allows for life. Think of it as a biological orientation towards maintaining balance. Not too hot, not too cold, with just the right amount of energy.
So I guess the one thing I should mention, though, is because of how much time I've spent, I'm not going to make any like significant changes to, like, I guess some of the, you could say, creative decisions of like how I displayed something, like the sidebar here. Like, this took a while to set up, actually. But, you know, I'm just kind of messing around, testing things out. Given feedback, I will probably try something different in the future. I'm just kind of seeing what works and what I can do. Because I wanted to just proof of concept this thing. And I was also trying to proof of concept a way to get the logo on the screen while we're doing this. But I do think that this transition's pretty ugly. Like the fact that there's just a white edge. I mean, we could perhaps have a border here that maybe makes this look nicer. Yeah, I'm not sure. Also, perhaps we could get a lot more space by pushing this back, getting this more to the left. Oh, for less than $100. Yo. Okay. Pine shorts. Man, this is an actual process. I'm going to have to build. All right, I might bookmark this. Uh-oh, it's up to me. But
for a simple single-celled organism, this is an unconscious chemical process. The organism directly senses chemical gradients.
oh, there's no. Oh,
automatically
you're
moving
saying to do. Was it? Are you referring? Oh, wait, because the process is already hard. Oh, you're saying that the quote or the link you just posted. Yeah, I don't know if I have the chops. Like I certainly don't have the studio, not the studio. What do people call it? The shop. I don't have the shop for that, unfortunately. Also, I'm kind of, I don't know if this makes me really soft, but I'm kind of scared of power tools, especially ones where like it'll suck you in. Like any of those types of power tools freak me out because I don't trust that I'm always going to be like not stupid. Like I've been stupid so many times, just like forgetting that I put something somewhere and then I accidentally step on it or I accidentally like bump it in a certain way. Like I don't know if I can trust myself with something that can suck me in. Pay someone, it'll be less than whatever it is. Yeah, that is true. I could just pay someone. Recently, an acquaintance of mine claimed philosophers claim to understand the absolute truth, which in my view is ignorant, especially when considering the linguistic philosophers who emphasize the contingency of our understanding. Well, that's my view. I kind of have both of those views. I do think that most philosophers do claim to understand the ultimate truth, but I do think that given the linguistic philosophers and given, just this very contemporary understanding, we are able to now point out the contingency of our understanding. So I kind of go both ways. I don't like it when I see someone. Maybe this is not good, but like when I'm given a philosopher, suggested a philosopher, or if I see someone doing philosophy online, like my first mode of thinking is that they probably are claiming that the world is a certain way, you know? I mean, also, I don't want to be even more controversial than I already am being in this slight rant, but people that are religious do the same thing. Like they claim to understand the absolute truth about what is out there and, you know, who the creator is, etc. That's why agnosticism kind of floats in this really nice space where, you know, you could consider that perhaps we don't understand.
Nutrients and away from toxins without any awareness whatsoever. A significant evolutionary leap occurred with the development of the nervous system, which allowed organisms
I also have to get my
create and
cuts a
transmit
little bit
internal
more
mappings or
smooth.
representations of their own bodily states. These weren't pictures in a mind, they were neural patterns that corresponded to a state of affairs, allowing for a faster, more coordinated response, fleeing, hiding, all in the service of maintaining homeostasis. This internal mapping first gave rise to emotions, the body's automated, observable responses like a racing heart, tensing muscles, or a shift in hormones, all triggered by specific stimuli. Then, a separate subsequent step in evolution was the development of feelings, which are the mind's private perception of those bodily changes, the subjective experience of the emotions as they unfold. This created a more direct link between body and mind. For instance, a signal for tissue damage triggers the physical emotion of bodily alarm and withdrawal, which is then perceived as the urgent, impossible to ignore feeling of pain. A signal of low glucose became the driving feeling of hunger, and a signal for optimal physiological balance became a satisfying feeling of well-being. Damasio argues that feelings are the mental experiences of the body's state of homeostasis, not yet conscious, but nevertheless instrumental prerequisites for our conscious experience. These feelings provided a tremendous evolutionary advantage. Instead of merely reacting to the environment, organisms now had a high-order guidance system that motivated them to seek out beneficial situations and avoid harmful ones. Finally, with the development of more complex brain structures like the neocortex, these raw feelings were integrated into the rich experience we call consciousness. Damasio proposes this happened in stages, beginning with what we've so far discussed, a non-conscious moment-by-moment neural map of the body's internal state. From this foundation, the brain created mappings of the feelings themselves, allowing humans to have rudimentary thoughts about feelings. A sense of self in the here and now emerged, albeit momentary and nonverbal, yet a sense of self that could own these feelings. This was the genesis of what we would intuit as primitive subjective experience, the basic sense that it is you experiencing the warmth of the sun or the pang of hunger. Ultimately, as memory, language, and imagination developed in humans, this process culminated in consciousness as we intuit it today. By leveraging memory and foresight, the brain built an autobiographical self, a persistent I that owns its experiences. I am hungry, I am in pain. This allows for incredibly sophisticated responses. Instead of just reacting to hunger, a conscious human can remember where food was yesterday, plan a hunt for tomorrow, and even invent agriculture to ensure food for generations. Thus, according to Damasio, consciousness wasn't a mysterious force that was added on top. It evolved as a highly sophisticated tool for homeostasis. It's an emergent biological solution that helped and continues to help an organism regulate its internal state and survive. It isn't something our brain receives, it's something our brain does, and reasonably so. We can make intuitive sense of this theory. Consider how a paper cut on our finger commands our conscious attention. Our brain creates a feeling of pain that motivates us to find a band-aid. Consider why we feel a knot of anxiety when we think about a future confrontation. Our brain is signaling a potential threat to our well-being, and the conscious feeling of anxiety is a powerful motivator to prepare or avoid that threat. Now, we must point out that homeostasis isn't merely about not dying, it's also about thriving.
I was
An
so
organism
stoked about
constantly
that.
on the brink of death is fragile, so evolution favored organisms that built a buffer and ultimately flourished. For example, achieved abundant energy, low stress, strong social bonds, etc. The joy of a good meal, the comfort of social connection, the satisfaction of achieving a difficult goal, these are not passive byproducts of our experience. They are active biological incentives, conscious markers of a body in a state of positive homeostatic regulation. They are the brain's way of telling us, this is good for our well-being, do more of this, driving us towards states that offer more than just survival, but genuine well-being. Theoretically, of course, as these systems weren't designed with modern abundance in mind. We can see how our ability to learn and adapt contributes to this overarching framework. While a simple organism relies on fixed, instinctual responses, an organism that can learn can change its behavior to new environments and unpredictable challenges. This ability to learn from experience provides a massive survival advantage, allowing an organism to build a predictive model of its world that is far more sophisticated than genetics alone could provide. For humans, this ability is highly developed and multifaceted. We don't just learn from direct trial and error, we learn from observing each other, and most powerfully, by passing knowledge down through generations. This cumulative process of learning is what allowed us to move from mere survival to true flourishing, inventing tools, developing agriculture, and creating medicine. This remarkable ability for learning is rooted in the brain's neuroplasticity, the constant rewiring of our brain and nervous system through experience. And within this process, emotions act as a primary catalyst. Experiences that evoke strong feelings, good or bad, trigger the release of neuromodulators like dopamine and acetylcholine, which signal to the brain that something important has just happened. For positive experiences like solving a difficult puzzle, the feeling of satisfaction floods the brain with reward signals. This reinforces the neural pathways that led to the solution, making us more likely to use that strategy again. For negative experiences like touching a hot stove, the intense feeling of pain creates a powerful memory. The neural circuits connecting the site of the stove to the painful consequence are strengthened, ensuring we automatically avoid it in the future. Ultimately, our conscious attention plays a significant role in this process, effectively acting as the brain's mechanism for highlighting information. When we consciously focus our attention, whether on a physical sensation like our breath, an intellectual problem, or a motor skill like playing guitar, we are initiating a cascade of top-down signals. First, these signals cause the release of neuromodulators that act like a sensitivity dial, making neurons more excitable and responsive. This is the biological reason why focusing on a sensation, like our feet pushing down on the floor, actively makes it feel more vivid and detailed in consciousness. Second, as we've discussed, this heightened activation strengthens the neural connections involved. This is the physical basis of neuroplasticity, and it affects the trajectory of our skills, understanding, aspirations, addictions, and of course, our internal systems. Notably, however, our deliberate conscious focus isn't absolute. The brain is equipped with a powerful override system rooted in this fundamental job of maintaining homeostasis. If our body detects a signal that is urgent enough for our immediate well-being, a sharp pang of hunger, the sudden pain of a twisted ankle, or the startling crash of something falling nearby, it will automatically hijack our attention. This bottom-up attentional system will forcibly redirect our focus and insist that we deal with a more vital need before we could return to our originally intended goals. Thus, attention is the bridge between our subjective, conscious will and the physical machinery of our body. It is the process by which we subjectively experience and therefore direct our own homeostatic regulation. Okay, we could stop there, but if you'll indulge me,
there we go. An actual typo. Concio's. 1630. All right.
Subjectively experience and therefore direct our own homeostatic regulation. Okay, we could stop there, but if you'll indulge me, we can consider what I think are some profound and relevant implications of this homeostatic model.
This is the stuff that I think only our document really touches on. As I hear it, I don't know.
Specifically related to our experience of meaning and what we consider to be our understanding. Damasio's model reveals that consciousness isn't an isolated product of the brain. It's deeply intertwined with the physiology of our entire body. Homeostasis is a full body coordination, an orchestra of systems working in concert. While the nervous system, including the brain proper, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves, acts as a master conductor, It is in constant dialogue with other critical systems such as the endocrine system, flooding the body with hormones, the immune system, defending and repairing, and the metabolic system, managing our energy. This connection is a continuous bidirectional stream. Key brain regions like the brainstem and insular cortex are dedicated to sensing the body's internal landscape moment to moment. The brain doesn't just send commands down to the body, it receives a constant rich flow of information up from the body's visceral and chemical state. This incoming information directly shapes our felt experience, our moods, our energy levels, and our general sense of well-being or malaise. This embodied framework highlights what meaning actually feels like. It grounds it not in abstract logic, but in the visceral, affective evaluation of our well-being. A situation that promises to enhance our well-being feels positive and attracts us. A situation that threatens it feels negative and repels us. These patterns don't stay confined to the brain. They're distributed across our muscles, posture, breathing, and internal sensations. A threat makes the heart race. A comforting memory can ease tension in the body. These aren't secondary effects. They are integral parts of how meaning manifests in our experience. This embodied perspective goes even further, suggesting that our most rational thoughts are guided by our broader physiology. For example, Damasio's somatic marker hypothesis explains how the brain uses these felt states to guide our choices. When faced with a decision, our brain rapidly simulates potential outcomes and generates an associated visceral bodily feeling for each one. A positive feeling of ease pushes us towards a decision, a negative feeling of unease or alarm pushes us away. This is the neurobiological basis for our gut instincts, revealing how even our most logical decisions are profoundly shaped by the body's wisdom in predicting future states of well-being.
This next thing I say is what's going to have Sam Harris showing up at my door.
Fundamentally challenges the classic intuitive view of a conflict between reason and emotion. The idea that we can make purely logical decisions separate from the messy influence of our feelings is a deeply ingrained but neurobiologically unfounded myth. In this embodied view, our feelings aren't just a bug in the system, they're an essential feature that makes effective reasoning possible in the first place. Okay, but we can get even crazier as we further consider the implications of this perspective. If our feelings and decisions are tied to our body's state, what does that mean for our most deeply held beliefs?
Yeah, but the
Nothing to do with the
MRI is not
truth.
going to show any beliefs. It
Nothing
shows
to do with the truth of the claim.
neurological
Yeah, so-
activity.
Exactly,
Beliefs aren't.
exactly.
Beliefs aren't in the brain.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in this.
I kind of
So-
agree with that.
From an intuitive, embodied perspective, he's right. Our experience of the world doesn't feel like abstract facts stored in our neural architecture. Meaning is made aware to us through consciousness, which is itself a product of our entire physiological state in conjunction with neural activity. We can consider how memory operates to shape the meaning we experience. Empirical science shows us that memory is an active reconstructive process. Each time we recall a memory, we don't replay it like a stored recording. Instead, we reconstruct it as the brain activates networks in response to relevant stimuli. And here is the physical basis for this. As we discussed, our brain registers a mapping of our experience, and that mapping drives the adaptation of its neural structure, building what we consider as our memory. Crucially, this reconstructive process also changes our memories over time. Retrieving a memory makes its underlying neural traces temporarily malleable and open to change, allowing it to be updated with new context or feelings before it's quote-unquote saved again through a process called reconsolidation. Even when we don't actively recall them, memories are not static. They continue to evolve as neural connections reorganize, decay, or integrate with new experiences. But it's not only the factual content that changes. The emotional charge of a memory can shift as well. A traumatic memory, for example, may be recalled with less fear or arousal after therapy or with new life experiences, even if its factual contents remain intact. Conversely, a seemingly neutral childhood memory can take on a warm, nostalgic glow as we gain new perspectives in adulthood. Now, here's the vital point. This dynamic process of memory isn't just for remembering past events. It is the fundamental engine that underpins our entire experience and understanding of meaning itself. Every perception, every thought, every gut feeling of intuition is the result of all of these processes we have discussed. It is the experience of feelings combined with the brain activating a learned neural pattern. The meaning we experience in any given moment, whether it's understanding a spoken word, recognizing a social cue, or feeling the importance of an idea arises as our brain generates an affective experience through the lens of consolidated memory-based patterns. Whether we're looking at an external object or thinking about an internal concept, similar neural processes of pattern recognition are at work. Thus, we consider how the very feeling of certainty we intuitively experience about a fact or belief is merely a feeling, a homeostatic state influenced by everything from our memories and cultural context to our hormones and even the signals coming from our gut. So in tracing this path, we see a clear progression. Attention and emotionally charged events drive the formation of memories. These memories enable the recognition of patterns in both our external world and our internal landscape of thoughts. And with repetition, these patterns become our automatic, habitual ways of understanding and experiencing the world. This brings us to the crucial distinction, our understanding. This entire library of patterns.
Where was that? Okay, 23. I might have that last slightly longer.
Memories and concepts exists physically as a vast complex web of neural connections, but we don't experience the web itself. We only ever experience the activation of those connections in constant communication with our broader brain and body. And since this very activation affects the connections involved, our understanding is constantly, if subtly, evolving. This means the understanding that we think we possess at any given moment is merely the current state of this ongoing adaptive process. So, just to reiterate, as this is incredibly important to understand, while we can step back and subjectively reflect on what we understand, our beliefs, and more broadly the purpose of our lives, we must recognize that these beliefs are experienced through consciousness as a result of underlying neural activation, operating merely as a key part of a much larger homeostatic system. Now, the exercise in conceptualizing the concepts that subjectively arise for us is deeply philosophical, and while we won't discuss that in this video, it is something I will soon cover in depth on this channel, so stick around if you're interested. Okay, so ultimately, the framework of homeostasis is incredibly comprehensive and coherent. It gives us an evolutionary lens to see why consciousness emerged, and a functional lens to understand what it does, how it affects our physiology, our behavior, our social dynamics, and ultimately our ability to survive and flourish. Importantly, this framework directly addresses the hard problem by proposing a functional reason for subjective experience itself. It serves a crucial dual role. It is the subjective signal of our current homeostatic state and the powerful catalyst for the actions needed to maintain it. For example, the feeling of hunger isn't just a notification that we need our current homeostatic state.
I need to have this quote. This quote's really important.
A functional.
What are you gonna do when someone says you used AI to write this? I'll say I did. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things though where it's don't do that. It's one of those things where it's kind of in between, right? Like I didn't take AI and I pasted it. I took AI and then I edited it. Like it's so I say with the document, I can't lie to people and just say like I'm not using AI to help me write this stuff. But I'm not gonna I'm gonna try to make it not seem like I'm just taking AI and then going with it. Like it took a lot to write this thing. Like it took a whole day to just, go through this stuff and make sure that every single thing that I said was the right wording that I wanted to say it with. And the same thing is the research stuff. Like I certainly didn't use AI to supplement the research. Well, I mean, I guess technically I did because I used AI to figure out what I should read, and then I read it, and then. But out of curiosity, have you ever read the Douglas Hofstadter book? No, I have not. Gödel, Escher, Bach. I heard it's a nerd classic. Well, it's a good thing I'm not a nerd. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a nerd in like 5 different categories. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what the. I think the goal is going to just be, or the strategy is just going to be as clear as possible. I think that the AI is leading to good content, like the quality of the content is good because of the AI. So I just need to just keep putting out good content, and then hopefully people, don't care enough. But yeah, if anyone asks me, I'll be precise about what I'm doing, which is not just typing something into AI and then running with it. But that said, I obviously I on stream type things into AI and then I just read it. So, and it's really important to note that I have learned so much from AI. I wonder why Heidegger was arguably skeptical of technology when AI seems beneficial. Well, Heidegger couldn't fathom AI like we have it right now. I don't even know if he could fathom AI. Like, when was Heidegger? Like, if we had AI, it was very primitive. Yeah, I don't like people 10 years ago didn't fathom LLMs. Like I think it's still wild that I don't know if you guys know Andrew Yang, but Andrew Yang was talking all about AI and how it's going to take over jobs, but he never mentioned language models, and that was like 2 years before they became big. Wasn't Heidegger like right wing, very right wing?
Dynamics, and ultimately our ability to survive and flourish. Importantly, this framework directly addresses the hard problem by proposing a functional reason for subjective experience itself. It serves a crucial dual role. It is the subjective signal of our current homeostatic state.
$1,000 is big bucks. Actually, well, it was $1,000. Was it a month? That's actually kind of crazy. Andrew Yang was a New York mayoral candidate, but then I think he messed up by talking about circumcision. Is that the was that the story? That's terrible. Quite the demise. 1,000 could have been 2,000 now. Yeah. Yeah, that would have added up. That would have been pretty nice. But alas, unfortunately, that money had to go to wealthier people. Imagine being able to work on this document with those Yang Gang dollars. Yeah, I mean, it would definitely make me more confident in just doing the switch, quitting the job, and just going for it. But after this video, it's not even gonna matter. Oh man. Funded by Yang. I'll put a little thing in every single video. It'll be. I should put it in my stream overlay. But guess what people did? Guess what? Yeah, what, they didn't vote him? Well, so it was when he was running for president that it really mattered for the money. I don't think he was going to give New Yorkers that. Maybe he would have. Can mayors do that? I don't know if they really probably don't have the budget for that. The deep state conspired against him. Oh, yeah. Why did he get kicked out? What year was this? Was it just because I just don't think he was popular enough? I think that was really it. I think he wasn't popular. No, I just don't think he was popular enough at all. This was the Bernie year, right? You could say that they conspired against Bernie. But I don't think there was a need to conspire against Yang. I don't think he was there. I talked with Cuomo. Okay. He said we can't let Andrew Yang win. We are the deep state and we will conspire against him and kick him out. All hail Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders is neck chump. And then you let him? You said you wouldn't let him and then you let him do it? Oh, then they deported you. Oh man, that's a bummer. And it's taken you ever since to get back. Unless you're still there. Okay, what was I going to do? I need to add a
Posing
quote
a
here.
functional reason for subjective experience itself.
Hiding in a
It serves a
cabinet. Oh my
crucial
gosh.
dual role.
You're on the cabinet now? You're on the White House cabinet? They haven't caught on. Full shower set up and everything. Nice. It's like a Narnia situation.
It is the subjective signal of our current homeostatic state and the powerful catalyst for the actions
Yeah,
needed
this
to
is
maintain it. Serves
This-
a crucial dual role.
This is an insane quote.
Certainly, this framework directly addresses the hard problem by proposing a functional reason for subjective experience.
So 24 to 45. I mean, this is the strongest argument here, where it's. I mean, we obviously we built up attention and all that stuff, but you know, I'm just kind of reiterating the argument that it's not just the fact that consciousness like lets us see what's going on, like, you know, it's like our consciousness is a way for us to see the affective feelings that are, you know, telling us whether or not something's wrong, or, you know, obviously as our brain's much more complex now, we've got that whole predictive aspect of it. You know, it can predict not only internal stuff but external stuff. But it's just the fact that consciousness is such a key driver of our learning and of so many other mechanisms in our brain and body that by like, it's almost like our subjective experience is like our subjective view of it, and like just the way that we understand it is such that we're kind of like we're just kind of watching while it's actually affecting our behavior and it's affecting our other things in our body and all that stuff. That's the real reason why we're conscious, because it helps our brain and body manage so much more. It's like a way to significantly make more complex these homeostatic mechanisms. All right, so I need to make quote.
Itself. It serves a crucial dual role. It is the subjective signal of our current homeostatic state and the powerful catalyst for the actions needed to maintain it. For example, the feeling of hunger isn't just a notification that we need energy. The unpleasantness of that feeling is what actively drives us to find food. Through this scientifically grounded
just the-
framework, consciousness is not.
Is this just the subreddit? Is anything happening here? Top of the month. What do we got? What happened? Oh no. What happened? Was a huge supporter of Yang in 20 and was really let down to see how he was edged out by the okay, maybe he was edged out. I don't remember that. I thought his policies and general demeanor were really the way forward, no pun intended. I remember watching him watching a podcast with him and Shapiro where Ben called him my boy Andrew Yang. He got endorsements from Elon. It seemed like someone who could really build a broad coalition. Well, I think he upset a lot, like based on what I was saying, I think he upset a lot of the Jewish population of New York when he started talking about circumcision, which is what really hurt him in that race. So perhaps that would also hurt his Ben Shapiro relations. Now, outside of his podcast, I hardly hear anyone on the left talk about him. I fully expected the left populists to see him as a harbinger of a new future paradigm. Sadly, it seems he's all but disappeared from the political discourse. What happened? All right, what happened? What do we got? He spoke with logic and about identifying and implementing solutions. Okay, this is a pessimistic one. Pessimistic. No one's going to tell me where he is? Okay, well, that's it. Oh, the implosion of the Majorca. Oh, and the general stagnation of the Forward Party, right? He had that party. But yeah, I'm not sure what he's working on right now. I think that's what I'm curious about.
Not merely an elusive subjective experience, it is an evolutionary advantage that helps us regulate our internal state and respond to our environment. It is a complex set of biological mechanisms whose effects are becoming increasingly understood and in many ways predictable. Which finally leads us to my response to Alex's current views on consciousness. First, I want to start on a point of agreement. Alex is right to be skeptical of the simplistic argument that consciousness is merely an inevitable byproduct of complexity. Just because a system is complex or intelligent, even super intelligent, does not mean it has feelings. Damasio makes this point.
This is a major against all the people that think that like LLMs are conscious as well. I don't know if that's controversial, but that's
a
really
strange
what's
order of
happening
things.
here.
He says, there is plenty of evidence that artificial organisms can be designed so as to operate intelligently and even surpass the intelligence of human organisms. But there is no evidence that such artificial organisms, designed for the sole purpose of being intelligent, can generate feelings just because they are behaving intelligently. Natural feelings emerged in evolution, and there they remained because they have made live or die contributions to the organisms lucky enough to have them. In other words, feeling isn't a bonus feature of intelligence. It's an evolutionarily developed tool for survival. Now, to address panpsychism...
It was also the driver of our intelligence. Like, it was... Like, feelings were the thing that allowed us to achieve such a developed conscious state. Given that consciousness... like feelings are a presupposition, or not a prerequisite of consciousness. Going back to how I explained that trajectory.
We can first address panpsychism's intuitive phenomenological charm, especially regarding psychedelic, spiritual, or religious experiences. The argument is that since these experiences feel like an expansion of consciousness, while brain activity decreases, the brain must be a filter that has been temporarily opened. However, I believe this is a straw man of the contemporary neurobiological position. The materialist view doesn't require a simple linear relationship where more brain activity equals more conscious experience. This phenomenon doesn't disprove that the brain generates consciousness. It merely indicates a more complex relationship involving the suppression and desynchronization of filtering networks like the default mode network. When this network, which is responsible for our narrative self and notably for filtering distracting internal chatter, is temporarily inhibited, raw, unfiltered sensory and affective data rushes through, creating the subjective feeling of expansion. So while we might subjectively feel that our mind is opened, it's more scientifically accurate to say that our mind is profoundly altered during those states than expanded into a mind at large. Even if we grant panpsychism its steel man philosophical premises, it runs into two massive scientific hurdles.
I think people would find that pretty cringy, honestly. And you might also get sued.
First is the combination problem.
Unless, of course, you were to actually like then wrestle and like take someone down. I think that would be fine. That's the plan. Nice.
To explain how billions of tiny, simple points of micro-consciousness in atoms could combine to create the single, unified, and complex conscious experience of a person. But the bigger issue is the lack of a testable mechanism. As we've seen, the homeostatic model provides a clear evolutionary trajectory. Panpsychism does not. For the brain to evolve as a filter for, or specifically evolve to filter, some fundamental consciousness, that consciousness would have needed to exert some kind of selective pressure on our evolution. Furthermore, the filter hypothesis offers no
Kinda said
plausible
evolution
physical
in a slightly
mechanism for
wrong
how
way
a
there.
brain would receive or filter this consciousness. If we take it that some fundamental consciousness simply comes along for the ride of evolution, yet it still affects our conscious experience today, then we must identify how this mechanism operates, intrinsically or extrinsically to the brain and body. What part of the brain receives or filters this fundamental consciousness? Once again,
You need the Trump approach nowadays. Always say and do the most bombastic stuff possible, then sit. I mean, that's one way of going about it. People might... Actually, I guess, I don't know. I was going to say people might be tired of that way now, but who knows?
without a testable mechanism, panpsychism remains unfalsifiable, which moves it out of the realm of science and into pure metaphysics. Because of the lack of this evidence, scientifically speaking, panpsychism is speculative at best and implausible at worst. Now, because we went the extra mile with our discussion of meaning and understanding, we can even make a philosophical argument against the conception of panpsychism. As we've established, our entire understanding of the world, from the concept of a chair to the feeling of certainty about a belief, is an ongoing adaptive process built from the biological machinery of our unique embodied minds.
All right, what's this question? Tell me, when was the last time you read a policy document? Exactly. I'm going to be Secretary of Education. Nice. Can I have AI write my policies? Okay. Can I have it write the stuff? Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually... Have I read a policy document? Maybe one or two. But I don't know if I've like read an entire document. I don't know if I've ever read an entire document in my life. Head of Fed. Oh, I gotta talk with him. Yeah, I guess I was trying to say, like, if Yang was really an expert in AI, then why didn't he even mention language models? Like, was he just trying to not go that crazy? Like, it's kind of like telling people, like, you know, I'm trying to think of an example, but why not just actually give the actual thing? Like, language models are so crazy magic that I think people would have thought maybe if he were to say that, they would think he's crazy or something like that. Or if he were to say, hey, you're going to be able to make Pixar level animation in only, 6 years or something, 5 years, just by typing in a prompt, I think people would think he's crazy. Yeah, like, I think it's just, it would have been nuts. But I'm curious if he knew it. Like, did he know about language models? Was he purposely not explaining that because it was strategic to his campaign? Or did he not know? If he didn't know, then that bodes poorly for his AI expertise. Because it wasn't too long after that when we started getting DALL-E and like primitive language models. All right, we gotta make it through.
This means that each person's interpretation of an event or concept is different. Given this, we have to recognize that grand abstract phrases like fundamental matter of the universe or universal consciousness are profoundly ambiguous. Each person will infer a completely different meaning from them. When we build a framework for understanding reality, precision is paramount. A theory's power comes from its ability to provide a shared language that allows us to make specific, empirical observations and testable predictions. And this is where the two frameworks reveal their fundamental difference in pragmatic utility. Damasio's theory of homeostasis provides that level of precision. It grounds intuitive phenomenological concepts like feelings, attention, meaning, in observable, empirical phenomena like neural networks, affective responses, and visceral states. These are concrete things we can measure, test, and build upon. Panpsychism, in contrast, relies on concepts that are, by their very nature, untestable and ill-defined. What precisely is the proto-consciousness of an electron? How exactly does it combine with others? These questions are unanswerable because the terms themselves are not operationally defined. They don't give us anything to measure or test. This is more than just a mere semantic or scientific issue, it's a philosophical and pragmatic one. A framework that cannot make specific, falsifiable predictions cannot be built upon. It becomes a pragmatic dead end. It may be an interesting thought experiment, but it fails to provide the utility of a robust practical theory. So where does this leave us? Ultimately, this debate comes down to which standard of inquiry we commit to. One path offers a metaphysical solution that, while compelling, relies on concepts that are currently ambiguous, untestable, and unfalsifiable. The other, while acknowledging its own gaps, adheres to the rigorous standards of the scientific method, proposing falsifiable hypotheses grounded in the observable world of biology. That said, to be absolutely clear, the hard problem of consciousness is not yet completely resolved, and we still don't quite understand how our underlying biological mechanisms generate the subjective experience we can each intuit. However, our framework suggests that the difficulty of the hard problem may not stem from a ghost in the machine, but from the inherent nature of the machine trying to understand itself. Think of it this way: our very ability to ponder consciousness, or to even mindfully pay attention to our own consciousness, relies on a conceptual understanding of consciousness that our brain has learned and now reconstructs. We are using a product of the system to analyze the system itself. As we've established, our understanding is a dynamic and subjective biological process. While our subjective experience feels obvious, our conceptual grasp of it is filtered through our unique, ever-changing neural architecture. Perhaps this is why consciousness is so difficult for each of us to pin down. Thus, I suggest that using a merely intuitive sense of consciousness as the foundation for a grand theory about the nature of the universe is a philosophically precarious step. Rather, a more practical and productive direction involves starting from stable empirical ground. By focusing on shared, observable, and testable biological phenomena in conjunction with the subjective experiences they strongly correlate with, we can collaboratively and cumulatively build a more precise and reliable understanding from the ground up.
Yeah, I kind of like how this video ends up being more of like it's more of the pragmatic argument. It's this argument about how we ought to. It's a philosophy of science, pretty much. It's like how we ought to conduct ourselves in this type of material, and while there's still this possibility that panpsychism could exist, right? It could be the case. Like we ought not act as if that is a highly plausible way to go about this, given the rules of scientific rigor. Like it's a philosophy of truth, pretty much.
So, after that deep dive into the neuroscience of consciousness, what's the practical takeaway as it relates to the original aim of the Diary of a CEO discussion? How to live a purposeful, meaningful, and emotionally rewarding life. As Dr. K aptly pointed out in the discussion, there's a difference between the incommunicable experience of transcendence and the teachable process of achieving it. And in that teachable process, we have an incredible array of tools at our disposal. First, by understanding the mechanisms of our biology, we get a powerful lens to see why certain practices are so effective. We know that things like getting enough sleep, learning a new skill, or practicing mindfulness can profoundly affect our experience. The homeostatic model specifically shows us how these activities aren't just abstract wellness tips. They directly influence our neurochemistry, regulate our stress responses, and rewire our brain's predictive models. This is exactly what Dr. K was getting at when he advised people to learn to feel again. He's advocating for re-engaging with our body's core homeostatic signals, the vital data about our well-being. Second, building on that biological foundation, we have a rich toolkit from the psychological and behavioral sciences. These
Yo,
fields
Darman,
provide
that's
us
good.
with effective evidence-based techniques that have predictable outcomes. They offer
Nice.
concrete strategies to change our patterns of thought and behavior. Dr. K mentioned several of these, including logotherapy, dialectical behavior therapy, and acceptance and commitment therapy. These are just a few examples from a vast library of tools designed to help with the very things he outlined: dissolving a rigid ego, building a comprehensive narrative identity, and recognizing that purpose is built by how we choose to act in the present moment. And finally, we must acknowledge the crucial role of a subjective worldview. A significant part.
All right, this is the one of the most important parts of the video, where we be clear about basically this is going to be what we have to deal with in part 3. And I'm not sure how we go about doing it yet, but we'll see.
That purpose is built by how we choose to act in the present moment. And finally, we must acknowledge the crucial role of a subjective worldview. A significant part of finding purpose involves developing a personal framework that makes sense of the world and our place within it. This is where spiritual or religious belief systems and philosophically resonant ideas like panpsychism can be incredibly beneficial. They excel at providing a cohesive, subjective identity and a set of values to aim at. My goal in this video was not to diminish that personal utility, but only to evaluate the scientific plausibility of the underlying claims. We can certainly find a belief system incredibly useful without accepting it as a literal scientific description of reality. If you are new to this channel, this ultimate problem is what we are working to comprehensively solve: how to build a practical, effective framework for living a purposeful and emotionally rewarding life. And we are tackling it from every angle mentioned in this video. We started from the ground up, first by building a scientific and philosophical foundation for how we experience and understand the world.
It only took
largely
a
what
year and a
we've been
half.
discussing today. From there, we will build a practical toolkit for identifying and pursuing our goals, and ultimately a comprehensive strategy for achieving a meaningful life. If that's a journey you're interested in, please subscribe and join the conversation. I've linked our full document that this project is based on in the description below. I hope y'all enjoyed and perhaps learned something in this video. Have a great rest of the day.
Okay. Just making sure I spelled subscribe right. One more time.
I mean, I think the most plausible account of consciousness implies that consciousness is something which is sort of received by the biological organism rather than produced by it. Because I agree with you that you can't just put a bunch of molecules together and get consciousness. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well,
If he didn't say it so so directly like that, I think it would have looked worse that I was making a direct challenge. But the fact that he says that one quote, like it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, I think that fuels the entire video. Wow, 30-minute video. Yeah, I guess I was hoping it wasn't going to be really long, but 30, I don't know, maybe it was 37 minutes. I think that's a good length for a video essay of this caliber. Do I think that AI is going to disrupt society to such an extent that it causes armed conflict? Yikes. Maybe. That's all I'll say. Yeah, I guess it depends what like level of scope we're talking about. Like certainly it's going to cause armed conflict at some level. Whether that's literally just people get it, like we're going to have to create laws about stuff, and people are going to break those laws, and that's going to be armed conflict. If you're talking like this is going to get countries to go to war, then I have no idea. Adam tuned in. What's good? Hello, hello. We chillin'. 30-minute video. I remember there was a YouTube glitch where if you'd watch the video on super slow mode, it would count as a double watch time and recommend it to others based on that. The slower you watch, the more it added. That's incredible. The Spiffin Brit made a video about it. Cool. I'm wondering if for the next one you should just go off key points and speak more conversationally. Yeah, it's like there's a pro and con about that. The pro is obviously that I'm not looking down at you know, my actual script. And the pro is that I probably do come off much more like, I don't know, with higher conviction and a little bit more credence to what I'm trying to say. The cons are that I don't think I'm like the most excellent at explaining these ideas off the cuff. One, because I haven't really like studied these ideas for like I now understand this stuff well enough such that if someone wrote something down, I could tell you if that's actually the appropriate way to write it, which is like what I'm doing with AI here. Like I'm basically, you know, it's a back and forth where, I mean, it was the same stuff with the document. Like it's not like I studied any of this stuff like enough that I can really say I'm an expert at any of it. But I know it well enough that I know exactly when the writing is right or wrong. Like if the framing is logically correct, and that's good enough to do what I'm doing now, where I'm actually saying something where I know people can't get upset by the certain framing that I'm using. Granted, perhaps I'm overlooking something, and I might get people might yell at me for saying something a certain way. So yeah, I wonder if a good happy medium would be one, for me to get one of those teleprompters, and then two, for me to just get more comfortable at reading stuff, because you know this is still, I'm probably still in like university mode or high school mode making videos, like literally just reading something. Hello, the context is, do I still have it here? No? The context was basically, there was that video recently with Dr. K, Alex O'Connor, a Christian, and Diary of a CEO. And Alex said some stuff about consciousness that was like, this was actually kind of crazy. It was like it was so coincidental that we had just talked about panpsychism on stream, and we had gone through a whole thing, and I had finished that stream, or I maybe that week, the week that we were working on panpsychism, I finished that week thinking, I won't make a video about this. Like, this is, you know, this isn't that important. It's not going to be a big deal. But then once we saw the video with Alex O'Connor and where he literally mentions stuff like, I think the most plausible account of consciousness implies that consciousness is something which is sort of received by the biological organism rather than produced by it. So he, you know, he even talks about panpsychism by name in this video, and I just couldn't believe that this was actually something that, you know, perhaps people would benefit from a full, you know, a full run through. So I guess the stars aligned where the opportunity was good. It allows us to actually flesh out the thoughts that we have in the document, and also the stuff that I was reading with Damasio. Oh, it was just perfect timing all around. I've seen videos on YouTube now put no AI in the thumbnail now. Well, I will put AI here. No, I do understand that people are not about AI at all, and I don't blame them. AI is some scary stuff. But I also like my actual take is like my take on AI is not going to affect these incredibly large companies. Even if I had a popular YouTube channel, even if I had XQC level views, I could not stop the AI movement. I don't even think I could slow it down in any meaningful way. So I see that given the tools that we have at our disposal, we ought to use what would actually lead to our moral goals, whatever they are. So I think AI is going to help us out in building content quickly and effectively. Like, I think the content's going to be good, so I'm going to use them. Especially on history channels, the voice, and actual script writing by a human is a premium now. Yeah, it is really odd though when you do get like a video where you can tell it's voiced by AI, but it's gonna sound really realistic soon, and we're not gonna be able to tell. If there's a channel on YouTube that doesn't show face for like, you know what, I guess for the like 6 months, where the 6 months before video AI is so easy to make that you could just make a long version of that. I bet you could do that now. Could you not make like, I had cuts almost every, within the minute. I bet you could make pretty much, you could do the exact same thing I just did, all AI, where it's a model that keeps the same character, and you have a cut every 15 seconds after you say a certain thing. You just need to make sure that all the sentences are at least 15 seconds. Should I make a YouTube/Reddit account and reply with this? Uh-oh.
What I'm saying is, like, we're gonna find that person. Yeah. When we do find them, once we get them back, I'm gonna give them right back to them. Really? Say, congratulations, you played yourself.
Nice. And this, to anyone who disagrees with me, I think...
You know what's so crazy, man? It's like, it breaks my heart. Nah, it really fucking breaks my heart that there's people out there that don't believe in us. Speedy, they don't believe in us. This shit breaks my fucking heart. If you really think about it, like, it's actually humans that don't believe in us. Shame on them. Shame on these motherfuckers. God did.
Oh, that's what the quote was from. What is going on here? Yeah, no, I think we should let people disagree. The stakes aren't that high. It's not that crazy. All right, I think I might call it here. Might get some early Z's. Maybe I'll add I don't know, maybe I should just add those things in tomorrow morning. When did I say I was actually going to post this stuff? I thought I said I was going to post one today, but I guess that's not happening. Yeah, I don't remember. Did I lose it? Oh no, here we go. Just have a bunch of pieces of paper. Isn't Windows 11 a move to the AI cloud of Microsoft, as the CEO claimed? Well, I'm not sure. I know that you can do AI stuff here. I just don't do it. I guess, is it, we've got Copilot here. There's something even larger though. Like there's something, isn't there something built in that has you doing AI stuff? I don't remember. Okay. I could have sworn I wrote down when I was going to post these things, but I don't remember where. Oh, it's literally on this page, right? Yeah, okay. Sunday morning. All right. Monday afternoon. And then I'm going to have to, tomorrow, try to find more places to post. Baked in Copilot and Recall. Okay, nice. Okay. I think that's going to be it for me. I've been literally working on that video since the moment I woke up. Except for meals. I think these companies all had something cooking with LLMs. The speed at which they released these things after the OpenAI saga was kind of sus. Yeah, that is true. Like, it seemed like everyone kind of got to the same point really quickly. I'm not sure. I'm going to stay with Win 10, then eventually Linux. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you very much. Yeah, good night, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for helping me QA. I will definitely try out different things in the future. Just trying to see what works, what doesn't work, and yeah, it's kind of you gotta act as if it's a game. Have some fun playing with it. All right.